welcome back. As you know, we actually did a conversation the other week on Bell Let's Talk Mental Health. So that is coming up, but first I would like to welcome Rene. He's here today to talk to us about mental health and having that conversation openly with a male, which you don't see typically. So thank you very much for coming in today. More and more men are taking action on opening up and moving forward with talking about mental health and no more suffering in silence. So just a few questions for you regarding this topic. How do you feel about the stigma of men's mental health and the changes over the years?
Well, actually, I believe the changes have slowly started to progress in the proper trend, I think. I think it's becoming a little bit more acceptable or accepted, perhaps, for the male to come out with maybe a little bit of mental health struggle. But that being said, it's been a long time. I do believe that the stigma of mental health with men in the world today is still not quite where it needs to be. We still suffer in silence a lot. But like I said, with companies like Balnea and Bell, it just opens up the door for opportunities like this.
Great opportunities to talk and get out there. So I was actually doing a little bit of research on what's out there to help male and kind of male dominant industry in looking at mental health. And you know, I came across this quote that men aren't supposed to have mental health problems, which I found quite shocking. What is your outlook and opinion on that?
Well, it just goes to show the opinion and that stigma of what we're supposed to do, what we're not supposed to do, what we're supposed to have, what we're not supposed to have. You know, you see it everywhere, you know, that general stigma, the girl's supposed to dance, the boy's supposed to play sport. We don't necessarily need to have that anymore. So, you know, hopefully it continues to open up and get better.
Make that movement, get things and get men to start talking. So how do you start the conversation? Being a male with, you know, kind of looking at mental health, how would you initiate the conversation if somebody is struggling out there or someone is having difficulty moving forward? What's your way of starting that?
Well, mental health obviously is a very personal situation, a personal struggle, we'll say. So it's very difficult to approach sometimes. Sometimes it's difficult to react. Myself, I can only speak from my own personal what's my experiences.
Yes.
I've always found that the easiest way to start a conversation with a man in regards to some sort of a mental health, and it's opening the door for him, rather than saying, how are you doing? It's how you feeling. How do you feel about that? Because a lot of the male stigma is a male is what do you do, rather than how do you feel. And I believe that's an easy opening to start that conversation for that male.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great tip. Thank you for that. I know previous to this we were kind of having a little bit of a conversation on the help. The help that is out there and help getting that help. What have you come across and what have you seen in trying to get help?
This is mental health is a long problem, not going away anytime soon. So it's a very, very difficult, long, cumbersome avenue to go with mental health. It doesn't matter what gender you are, it doesn't matter what age you are, it's a very, very difficult program to get into. That being said, to take it to the male aspects, it's even more difficult because men generally stay quiet a lot longer, don't get the help that they actually need. So when they finally get to the point where they need it, it's either too late and it takes them so long to get the help that they need, or they just say, I'll just suffer in silence. So hopefully, again, something like this gets the conversation started so they can get into the system sooner than later, and eventually they can get the help that they require.
Yeah, get the access to help. So that's great. I was reading, again, articles on online, and this young boy from a very young age needed help, and he finally got the courage to get the help. And walking into this office, he walked through the front door, and the lady kind of was a little bit taken back by him walking through the front door, and she said, well, why didn't there's a door at the back that you can come in as like an entrance where you're not really seen and whatnot. And he was almost put off and put back by that. So that welcome and that invitation to come in to sit in someone's office to talk to them just wasn't there. And he struggled with that, and he was really open to going and getting help walking through that door. It made it a little bit harder for him as a male. So I found it interesting on those little things that you can just make different, and welcoming someone and having that conversation and kind of talking a little bit. It really does, it helps, and engaging in a little bit of conversation outside of maybe your typical work of how are you doing today, how are you feeling, and those little things help to gain that little bit of trust and then open up conversations.
Absolutely.
Have you noticed in aging any mental health changes? So as you age, 20s, 30s, and 40s, has there been any changes that you would kind of put together?
I'm a lot tireder. I get a little tired.
Yes.
But no. I believe actually, again, with the maturity, I understand it better. I've been lucky, I guess, that I've been able to get a lot of counseling and help throughout my years.
That's great.
It hasn't always been easy. Again, it's been quite some time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that just the conversation of putting yourself maybe in someone else's shoes for 30 seconds and not necessarily jumping into giving the advice,
Yeah.
but rather just listening to how it may be affecting them.
Yes.
And that speaks volumes, and that might just be all that person needs. And hopefully more compassion, more sympathy, more understanding that men also have sensitive and caring thoughts. It doesn't always have to be, rough and tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's great. We do have a diffuser blend for sleep as well.
Oh,
Sleep
beautiful.
well.
Yes, that
Lovely
will help.
blend.
That will help.
So, yeah, just the changes in through aging and whatnot. I was curious to see if you had kind of, put that. And kind of wrapping things up, one piece of advice, just one simple thing that you would give to recommend to any of the men out there, what would it be?
That I believe that in the day and age that we are in now, that anyone really can talk. Anyone can really find somebody in their lives out there they know that they can talk to. Mm-hmm. And I think that everyone should have that opportunity to speak to that person, mm-hmm. and know that it's not a weakness. That's all I can say.
That's perfect. That really ties it off. That's great. So thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
That was a lovely interview.
Thank you.